Getting Colonel Silver to win is a long shot. His victory is based on how in the manga Goku completely ignored Silver soldiers after he landed and went straight for the Dragon Ball. In the manga, soldiers never fired a shot at him when they had the chance. If they did shoot him when he was ignoring them, he likely would have been caught off guard. We've seen Goku be gravely injured when being caught off guard before, like how Sorbet injured him in Resurrection F. So, when they shoot him in the head while he was ignoring them, his defenses would have been lowered, so he would be killed. Since Silver got the Dragon Radar from Goku's body, along with one of the Dragon Balls, he would report to Commander Red at once. He would likely be happy with Colonel Silver's performance, and since this is before Goku managed to take down any parts of the army, he might promote Silver to the rank of General. With his new rank of General, he would probably collect more of the Dragon Balls for Commander Red, which he would be able to do with ease. This will apply to the other Red Ribbon Army chapters as well, but in the manga, Commander Red told Staff Officer Black to give the radar to General Copper and have him find the last Dragon Ball. This would mean that they still see the Dragon Ball on their radar, so Emperor Pilaf hasn't found it yet. So, in the timeline where Goku was killed, they would be able to get the last Dragon Ball before Pilaf. Anyway, just to make these variations more interesting, instead of the Red Ribbon Army conquering the world each time, I think it would be interesting to see the leader who won overthrow Commander Red after learning about his stupid wish to be made taller. So, after all 7 Dragon Balls are gathered, Commander Red would blurt out that he can finally wish to be taller. General Silver, of course, would be angry with the commander that the sacrifices they made were just for him to be taller. Staff Officer Black would be angry about this too, since General Silver has men of his own. His faction of the army would take out both Commander Red and Staff Officer Black. Without Commander Red's guidance, the other leaders in the army might not support Silver, so he would likely command them to be executed. This is also something that will apply to most of the other Red Ribbon Army chapters, since no matter who steals control of the army, there would likely be infighting between the factions of the army. The only change each time would be who takes power in the end, based on who was the one to take out Goku. In this case, it would be Silver that takes command of the Red Ribbon Army. Speaking of that, he likely changed the name and focus of the army. Since Silver led the aerial division, he changes the Red Ribbon Army to the Silver Scarf Air Force. But there still would be some land and navy units, most of them become aerial units. Then, he would use the Dragon Balls to wish for world domination, so he would become the ruler of the earth, with everyone now loyal to him. Since he purged the other officers, he would find others to become officers within his military. Also, since everyone is loyal to him, his military would be combined with the king's military after the crown is peacefully passed to him. As for how he rules, Silver is the type to ask questions first before resorting to violence. So, since everyone was affected by the wish to accept him as ruler, he doesn't have much of a reason to resort to violence. The only exception might be the heroes, since they might be able to resist the wish, but I don't think they could resist Shenron's power. So, this will apply to all the other chapters where a wish for world domination is made, and the heroes are still alive, which, in this case, the heroes would become loyal to the new ruler of Earth. This could go 2 ways, them becoming part of the ruling forces, or them staying as civilians, but the wish made them fine with the change in leadership. As for which option happens, I'll leave it up to your interpretation on what you find more interesting. While Goku was storming Muscle Tower, he blew through the enemies with ease. The only one that could have been a threat to him was Android 8, though, as we know, Android 8 was too nice to hurt or kill anyone. So, General White's best chance of defeating Goku would be if Android 8 worked as intended instead of him being too nice to fight. Since Android 8's power would be way too much for Goku to handle, he couldn't do anything against the android and would be killed. Like we see in the Path to Power movie, he would likely kill Goku by lifting him by the neck and choking him. With Goku now dead, Android 8 would drop his body, as Ninja Murasaki unlocks Android 8 back up. He would then retrieve the Dragon Ball and the Dragon Radar from Goku's body. They're given to General White, which he uses the radar to find the other Dragon Ball that's in Jingle Village. Normally, Android 8 found this Dragon Ball and hid it from the Red Ribbon Army, though in a timeline where Android 8 is loyal, he might not have found the Dragon Ball, since he would stay in Muscle Tower to guard it. Regardless, General White would go give the Dragon Radar and the 2 Dragon Balls to Commander Red. Since General White achieved these things for Commander Red, and with so few casualties against Goku, he would likely be treated favorably by the commander. Anyway, he would help Commander Red in gathering the remaining Dragon Balls. He would likely be present when Commander Red goes to make his wish, so when he hears about what Commander Red's stupid wish is, he would use his forces to overthrow him. Of course, the other officers would be trying to take power for themselves, but General White and his forces would manage to kill the other officers. After taking on the role of commander, White would change the name of the army to the White Waistcoat Army. Now that he was the commander, he would use the Dragon Balls to wish for world domination. After he made this wish, the title of King of Earth would be transferred to him. Anyway, Anyway, since his army focused on Arctic warfare, he would make Muscle Tower the new army headquarters. He would keep regular army divisions, along with the Navy and Air Force divisions too. He might also have a stealth division in his army, led by Ninja Murasaki, since he would still be loyal to the general. As for how he would rule, he's slightly impatient at times and easily irritated, but he can also be complimentary. So, if his forces get things done in a timely manner, he wouldn't be that bad to work for. However, it doesn't mean he is lenient with his forces, since in the actual story we've seen him send Android 8 to Boyon's floor to get eaten for not killing Goku. Speaking of Android 8, since he was a success in this timeline, he might get Dr. Gero to continue making androids for his army. He also might have Major Metallitron be rebuilt, since even though he lost against Goku, he did put up a good fight against the young boy. Regardless, with his army at his back, along with the power of the androids, nobody would be able to stop Commander White from achieving his goals, even if they wanted to. I didn't originally plan to include Major Metallitron and Ninja Murasaki in this, since I couldn't think of a way that they could take control of the army. However, I did think of a way that they could, which it would be like the timeline of General White taking power. Everything would go the same, up until after General White takes power. For the sake of this timeline, General White's wish for world domination wouldn't stop anyone from overthrowing him, so Major Metallitron could do so. As for how Major Metallitron would take power from him, it's harder to decide, since he was shown to follow orders without hesitation. Though, he was also shown to have feelings as well, since he felt frustration while fighting Goku. So, if General White ever angered or frustrated Major Metallitron enough, he would turn on the General. He would easily be able to overpower him, so General White doesn't stand a chance and is killed. Afterwards, with Major Metallitron being in power, he would rename the army from the White Waistcoat Army to the Metallic Mittens Army. I only came up with this name since Major Metallitron's name in the manga is Sergeant Metallic. Anyway, as for what he would do once he's in power, he would likely have Dr. Gero keep making androids for him. He would have seen how weak humans were in comparison to himself, so he would try and get his entire army made up of androids. Of course, that would take years to complete, but Dr. Gero would be able to handle this task. Afterwards, even though Major Metallitron wasn't keeping any of the other human soldiers around, he would keep Dr. Gero around so that he could repair the androids if they needed it. He might also have Dr. Gero continue to upgrade himself so that he is made stronger as well. That way, no one could overthrow him like how he overthrew General White. Anyway, with Major Metallitron now in power and having an army of androids on his side, no one can get in the way of achieving his goals. As for Ninja Murasaki, while he did follow General White's orders, there could be a situation that happens where he must take on the General. And something we only hear in the Funimation dub, he had a picture of General White's sister's dressing. When he dropped it in the anime during his fight with Goku, he was nervous about the General seeing it. So, in this timeline, he accidentally drops it in front of the General at some point. Of course, this will likely cause the General to attack him. We're never given specific power levels for these two, but with Ninja Murasaki's speed and weapons, I think he could kill the General quickly. Now that he took command of the army, he would change the name from the White Waistcoat Army to the Purple Pajamas Army. I only came up with this name, since in the manga, Ninja Murasaki's name is Sergeant Major Purple. Regardless, with him in command, he would have his soldiers trained to become ninjas. So, the army mainly becomes ninja focused, so any of their operations would be done stealthily, though he would likely keep some regular soldier divisions in case he ever had to use the army for some reason. Also, with him training the soldiers to be stronger, he would likely train as well, so that he couldn't be overthrown like how he overthrew General White. With Ninja Murasaki now having a highly skilled ninja army on his side, no one can stop him from doing whatever he desires. For General Blue to win, it isn't that much of a stretch for him to be able to win. At one point in the first fight between General Blue and Goku, he was already close to winning. After Bulma told General Blue where the Dragon Ball was, he was prepared to shoot and kill him with his shotgun. I know there's times Goku can't resist bullets, but since he was paralyzed by Blue's telekinesis, this shot would have killed him. The only thing that saved Goku was the mouse running by, so in this timeline, the mouse doesn't run by. General Blue then shoots Goku, thus killing the young boy. After killing Goku, he would kill Bulma and Krillin with the shotgun as well. He would then take the radar from Bulma, and he takes the treasure chest as well. He also gets the nearby Dragon Ball before he flees the collapsing cave by using the pirate sub. Once outside, he would regroup with the rest of the army and get into his regular submarine. From there, since Company B failed to take down Master Roshi, he would head there himself. He doesn't stand a chance against Roshi in terms of raw power, but I think his telekinesis would make Roshi defenseless, just like it did to Goku. After all, he was able to use his telekinesis to tie Roshi up with rope, so I don't see why he couldn't use his telekinesis to stop Roshi from moving. He then kills Master Roshi, before turning his attention to Launch and the turtle. In the manga, he speculated that the turtle was strong too, so he would kill both Launch and the turtle. After killing the heroes, he would collect the 2 Dragon Balls Bolo left on the island. In total, he would have 3 Dragon Balls, so when he reports back to Commander Red, he gives all 3 of them to the commander. He also gives the Dragon Radar to Commander Red, and since there are only 3 Dragon Balls left, he is likely sent out to gather one of them. Regardless, like in the chapters before, when Commander Red goes to make his wish, General Blue would think it was a stupid wish. This time, however, it isn't completely random for General Blue to want to overthrow Red. In the Path to Power movie, General Blue wanted to replace Staff Officer Black after he brought Commander Red most of the Dragon Balls. So, the desire for a higher position of power is present in General Blue. Anyway, after taking out Commander Red, he would still have to deal with the other officers, since in the absence of power, they all would be vying for the spot of commander. However, with his power of telekinesis, he would be able to make quick work of the other officers. Eventually, he also might be interrupted by Yamcha, Oolong, and Plor, since they knew about the heroes taking on the Red Ribbon Army. When they never returned, they likely figured something happened to them, so they would try to avenge them by taking down Blue. Though with his power of telekinesis, he would still be able to make quick work of them. Now that he is in power, he would make his wish for world domination. Of course, this basically means he becomes the next King of Earth instead of King Furry. Since he controlled the naval divisions of the Red Ribbon Army, he would change the army's name to the Blue Bandana Navy, though he would keep Air Force divisions and land divisions, just in case he needed them. As for how he rules, he would be a tough ruler, to say the least. We've seen in the manga how he killed people in his division over simple things, such as picking their nose. So, he would continue to strive to make his navy perfect, with every soldier having to fit his standards. It would take him a while to find enough people that fit his standards, but since the whole world was loyal to him, he would be able to find enough people eventually. Thankfully for him, the wish made people loyal to him, or there likely would have been rebellions against his harsh leadership style. So, he would continue to rule with an iron fist, without anyone standing in his way. This is another character I didn't originally plan to include. This is for Captain Dark. It would be difficult for him to win as well since he was tasked to go face Roshi, which he obviously stood no chance against the Turtle Hermit. So, in a timeline where he wins, it would be one where General Blue and Captain Dark didn't split up. Instead, they went to go after Master Roshi together instead of chasing after Goku immediately. This would allow the heroes time to get the Dragon Ball, and then they could swoop in and take it from them. Regardless, when they confront Master Roshi, he wouldn't willingly give up the Dragon Balls, but since General Blue is there, he would use his telekinesis on Roshi, thus making him defenseless, so Captain Dark has his men shoot and kill the Turtle Hermit. Of course, they would then kill Launch and Turtle as well, since General Blue knew they were allies of Goku. Regardless, after obtaining the 2 Dragon Balls Bulma left on Roshi's island, they would wait there for Goku and the others to return with the other Dragon Ball. Of course, once they arrive and see that Roshi and the others are dead, this would anger the two, though by using the power of his telekinesis, General Blue would easily be able to beat down the 2 young boys. Since they aren't in a cave, a mouse wouldn't scare General Blue away, so he would kill Goku while Captain Dark killed Krillin. They would then kill Bulma, and they'd take the Dragon Radar from her. Now that they have the 3 Dragon Balls and the Dragon Radar, the 2 of them would return to Commander Red. Now, the rest of this timeline goes the same as General Blue's victory, up until after he wishes for world domination. Captain Dark is shown to be easygoing, which is a far cry from General Blue's strict mannerisms. So, it isn't hard to see Captain Dark getting tired of General Blue's strict rules and plotting against him. Based on the interactions between the two, Blue likely wouldn't have expected Dark to do anything like that. Then again, he didn't expect Captain Dark to do much of anything, so when he goes to overthrow General Blue, he'll likely catch him off guard and shoot him in the back, thus killing him. After he then takes power of the Navy, he would rename it to the Dark Denim Navy. Now that he is in power, he wouldn't be anywhere near as strict on his soldiers as General Blue was. That doesn't mean he would let them become soft, though. He would just be more lenient on how they do things. Which, this might make the soldiers happier under his command than they were under General Blue's, since they don't have to worry about every little thing potentially getting them killed. So, this likely makes it so that no one tries to overthrow him like how he overthrew General Blue. With him having the Navy's full support like this, he would be able to accomplish any goals he sets for the Navy. Captain Yellow is another difficult one to get a victory for, as he stood no chance against Goku. The only way I see of him winning is if Goku doesn't reach the Sacred Land of Korin on time. This means that when Captain Yellow kidnaps Upa and holds them hostage, the trade of Upa for the Dragon Ball goes through. He would then return to the Red Ribbon Army headquarters and give the ball to Commander Red. However, they still must come up with a way to deal with Goku, and Mercenary Tao would be Commander Red's best option. Around the same time Tao arrives, General Blue arrives as well. The fight between Blue and Tao would serve as a warning to Captain Yellow that if he fails him, he would be killed in the same way. Anyway, with them now having the Dragon Radar that General Blue gave them, Captain Yellow would be sent to get the other one that is showing up on the radar. As usual, Mercenary Tao would be sent after Goku, who is heading towards the next Dragon Ball. Their fight would go about the same as usual, though it wouldn't happen at the Sacred Land of Korin, since Goku never had a reason to stop there. Anyway, for the sake of this timeline of the villains winning, I'm going to say that Tao kills Goku instead of the Dragon Ball blocking Tao's blast this time around. After receiving the Dragon Balls, Tao would deliver them to Commander Red in exchange for his fee. When Captain Yellow returns for the 7th Dragon Ball, he would find out what Commander Red's plans for the actual wish was. Of course, this would anchor Captain Yellow along with Staff Officer Black, but since all three of them would be vying for power, and Captain Yellow's men would likely stay loyal to him, they managed to kill Commander Red and Staff Officer Black. As usual, the Red Ribbon Army would then devolve into infighting. Since Captain Yellow managed to take out Commander Red and Staff Officer Black, more of the army would support him than the other factions. By this time, the only other factions left were General Coppers and Colonel Violets, since Goku took out the others. Anyway, while it would take a bit, he would eventually take out the other officers, though he still has the problem of taking on the other heroes, so they would likely try to avenge Goku, but with the Red Ribbon Army on his side, he would be able to defeat them. From there, he makes his wish for world domination and becomes the next King of Earth. It was hard for me to come up with what he would rename the Red Ribbon Army to, since most articles of clothing I found starting with a Y were 2 words instead of 1. So, I decided on a Yukata, since it was all that came to mind. So, he changes the name from the Red Ribbon Army to the Yellow Yukata Air Force. I only decided to call it the Air Force instead of the Army, since in the one major scene we see with Captain Yellow, he was relying on his plane to help achieve his goal. As for how he would rule, unlike the other officers, he really seems to care for his troops. So, even if people weren't made to be loyal to him because of his wish, they might not have minded serving under him. He is also persistent in getting people to cooperate with him, though he still has his men resort to violence if they must, so he isn't a good guy by any means. This was kind of a joke chapter to include at first, since I only wanted to include it as a reference to my old Goku turning evil story. Anyway, there are circumstances in which Mercenary Tao could win and potentially take control of the Red Ribbon Army, though it is a long shot. So, this timeline will start during the fight between Tao and Goku, though, instead of Goku just barely surviving because of the Dragon Ball blocking Tao's Dodon Ray, he's killed instead. Tao then gathers the Dragon Balls, and instead of going right to Commander Red, he goes and gets a new outfit made, since Goku destroyed his current outfit. When he does eventually give them to Commander Red, they realize he's missing one, so he returns to the Sacred Land of Korin. By now, Upa buried Goku's body, so he gets in the way of Tao trying to dig him up. However, Tao would mercilessly kill the young boy, and then dig up Goku and take the last Dragon Ball. After giving that one to Commander Red, he now had 6 of the 7 Dragon Balls, and General Copper was on his way with the 7th. So, he would have Tao wait briefly for his payment, since he was going to be busy making his wish. After receiving the Dragon Ball, Commander Red would go outside to summon the dragon. So, for Tao to go against Commander Red, the major thing that would have to happen is Red wishing for world domination instead of being taller. In a timeline where Red is made the ruler of the world, he might assume that Tao will now be loyal to him, so he refuses to pay Tao. This way, he could use the money to help rebuild the army after the damage Goku caused to it. For the sake of this timeline, I'm going to say it doesn't stop anyone from being able to overthrow Red. I know in previous chapters I made it to where others didn't want to overthrow them, but for this timeline to work, Tao would have to want to overthrow him. Anyway, Tao would be able to overthrow Commander Red and Staff Officer Black easily, so they wouldn't stand a chance against the assassin, and would be killed. However, before he could do anything else, the Red Ribbon Army base would be attacked by the other heroes, so they knew about Goku taking on the Red Ribbon Army. Though none of them would be able to stand up to the assassin either, so they would be killed as well. With him now in control of most of the army, he would likely eliminate the other remaining officers, like General Copper, so that they can't try to take power for themselves. Tao would then rename the army, which the name I came up with was a reference to my old Goku turning evil story as well. In that story, I had Tao take over the Red Ribbon Army and take on the codename Taffy. I only had him take on that codename because it fit with the color naming scheme, his outfit color, and it starts with the same letter. Since Tao wears pink, Taffy is a shade of pink, and it starts with T. Also, I just thought it was the kind of joke name Dragon Ball would do, for someone as ruthless as Tao to have a silly codename like Taffy. Regardless, with his codename being Taffy, he would rename the army to the Taffy Tuxedo Army. With the army and the world under his rule, he would train his soldiers to be more like mercenaries and assassins. So, people would come to the army to hire them to complete mercenary jobs. This way, Tao still can use the army to make money, but he can also send soldiers to do the mercenary jobs if he doesn't think they are worthy of his skills. He could also work in coordination with his brother, Master Shen, by having him train his soldiers in martial arts. This way, they would be highly skilled in both martial arts and assassination techniques. So, with Tao at the head of the army, it would become an unstoppable killing machine, with his name only becoming feared even more. Colonel Violet was the most difficult one for me to come up with a win for, since in the manga she doesn't fight Goku, and she doesn't fight him in the anime either. The only media I've seen her fight him in was the Path to Power movie in the game Dragon Ball Origins 2. Even then, she didn't stand a chance against him, so she was beaten with ease. It's a long shot, but the only way I can think of that she could win is by planting her explosives in preparation for Goku, instead of using them to blow open the vault. All her explosives there should easily be able to catch Goku off guard when he runs over them, so they would kill him. Though with these explosives being planted at the entrance to the Red Ribbon Army base, the explosion would damage the base as well. So, while she would face some reprimands for this, they wouldn't be as harsh since she managed to take out Goku. Since the Dragon Balls would survive this explosion, she would give them to Commander Red. Before General Copper arrived with the last Dragon Ball, the other heroes would have arrived. However, since the army at the base wasn't weakened by Goku yet, they would be able to stop the other heroes and kill them. Anyway, when General Copper does arrive with the last Dragon Ball, they would gather all of them in the courtyard to summon Shenron. Although superhero movie hinted at some connections between Commander Red and Colonel Violet, she doesn't care about her soldiers or the fate of the army. Instead, when Goku was raiding the base, she raided the vault and took off with the money. The point is that after hearing what Commander Red plans to wish for, she wouldn't have any qualms against turning against him. Like with the previous officers, she would come out on top in the power struggle between her, Commander Red, and Staff Officer Black. After they both were killed, she would be able to take down General Copper and his faction so that he wouldn't try to take control of the army. After taking control of the army, she would rename it to the Violet Veil Air Force. I only called it an Air Force instead of an army since when we see her in the Path to Power movie, she fights Goku while in the plane. Regardless, she would then make the wish for world domination, so she would become the Queen of Earth, with the entire planet becoming loyal to her. For how she would rule the planet, she would be ruthless to her forces, as she doesn't care what happens to them. As long as she achieves her goals, she would be happy. Besides that, she's only shown concern for animals, so she would ensure that her actions don't harm any animals in any way. Anyway, the only goals I can think of for her would be that she would try to grow the amount of money in her vault. Though with the wish making the people of Earth loyal to her, they would willingly give up their valuables to her if she so desired them. So, while she does have her Air Force to back her up if it came to her needing to use force, she never has to. After Staff Officer Black killed Commander Red and titled himself Commander Black, he didn't stand much of a chance against Goku. The only time I seen him have a chance of winning against Goku was right after he picked him up while he was in the battle jacket. Goku was struggling to escape his grip, so if he didn't throw Goku outside to blast him, Goku couldn't have gotten free. So, instead of throwing him outside, Commander Black crushes Goku in his hands, thus killing the young boy. With Goku defeated, he would exit the battle jacket and get the Dragon Balls from Goku's body. However, he would then spot the other heroes coming, so he would get back into the battle jacket. While it's hard to say if he'd be able to, but for the sake of this timeline, I'm going to say that he and the remnants of the army managed to kill the heroes. Afterwards, General Copper delivers the final Dragon Ball, though, in case General Copper ever wanted to take power for himself, he might kill him preemptively. He then summons Shenron and wishes to rule the world. He would essentially become the King of Earth, and the first thing he would do is set to rebuilding the Red Ribbon Army to its previous strength. Which, it's a good thing for him that the world is now loyal to him, since that makes it easy to find willing recruits for the army. Also, since Commander Red is no longer the leader, he would rename the army, so it is now called the Black Boots Army. While he wouldn't be as willing to sacrifice the soldiers' lives as Commander Red was, as we've seen when he was talking to Goku, he will still resort to brutal tactics to obtain his goals if peaceful negotiations don't work. Regardless, since the whole world was made loyal to him, the army would reach newfound levels of power, which, with the Black Boots Army at his back, he would be able to achieve any of the goals he wanted to, whatever they may be. The easiest way for Commander Red to get the victory, without anyone overthrowing him, is by Tao killing Goku. Instead of his Dodon Ray hitting the Dragon Ball, it would instead hit Goku right through the chest, killing him. Of course, Tao wouldn't find the Dragon Ball under his shirt right away, so he's still told by Commander Red that he missed one. So, after he got a new outfit made, he would return to the Sacred Land of Corn to get the 4th Dragon Ball. Upa would try to avenge both Bora and Goku, but Tao would easily kill him. He would then dig up Goku's corpse, since Upa buried him, and retrieve the Dragon Ball from his body. After that, he then returns to Commander Red and gives him the Dragon Balls in exchange for his fee for killing Goku. After the remaining Dragon Balls are collected, he would summon Shenron to make his wish to be taller. Shenron would easily grant this, and of course his wish would anger Staff Officer Black, since he thought Commander Red was going to wish for world domination. I can only assume Commander Red has a battle jacket of his own, so he and Staff Officer Black would get into a fight while on their respective battle jackets. Though, it's also likely Commander Red had his battle jacket be made stronger than the others, so he would win this fight and kill Staff Officer Black. He might also take out General Copper, since finding out what his real wish was likely angered the General too. As a brief side note, I'm not doing a timeline based on General Copper, since we never see him, as he's only mentioned in the manga. The same goes for Colonel Brown, since he's only mentioned in the manga as well. Anyway, since he no longer has much protection, he might hire Mercenary Tao permanently, at least until he can rebuild the strength of his army. Anyway, the heroes knew about Goku fighting the Red Ribbon Army, but when they heard nothing from him, they would go to their base looking for him. So Roshi, Krillin, Yamcha, Puar, Oolong, Launch, and Bulma go there. However, with Tao there, they wouldn't stand a chance, so they would be killed by the assassin. With the heroes dead, after Commander Red rebuilds his army, he would be able to take the world over by force. He would storm King's castle and remove King Furry by force, but since the king and his military would try to resist, the Red Ribbon Army kills the king and decimates his military. Commander Red then crowns himself the king, as he goes on to rule the world with an iron fist.